With nearly 12,000 tools available, selecting the right MarTech can be challenging. Meet the MarTech Intelligence Reports, free buyer's guides exploring specific platforms, including purchase considerations, leading players, adoption trends, and more. No matter where you are in the purchase journey, MarTech Intelligence Reports can help.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me at this MarTech session. My name is Andy MacLeay. I'm the Vice President of Engagement and Channels at Fluency, and we are an advertising, operations, and automation platform. So today, I'm really excited to talk to you about using automation to crack the code of locally targeted advertising at a massive scale. So what will we be covering today in our session? Today, we're going to talk about key emerging channels inside of digital advertising. What are some of the performance risks and challenges associated with that? How are we using AI and automation for improving our advertising operations workflows? And then what are some actual real use cases where people and agencies have gone through and scaled successfully using what we call a digital advertising operating system? So I know we've all worked in marketing for a long time here, and we all love a good digital marketing funnel. And it still holds true today. People move, basically through awareness into interest, into a decision-making process. How that happens, though, we know is not as linear as a funnel might have us be. They might bounce between different publishing sources. They might bounce between different ad types. They might move up and down through that funnel, in a fluid fashion. But one of the things that we know that has changed over the past couple of years, that is that shoppers and people, who are going through this process are looking for much more locally specific advertising. Their journey is much more multi-channel. And one of the things that we know is that advertisers are seeing this process happening in real time. Our partner Basis is seeing a 15% increase in programmatic advertising year over year. And this is really being driven by the fact that local advertisers are beginning to see a lot of value inside of programmatic channels and emerging media. We ourselves at Fluency are predicting a 350% increase in channels like Amazon and other DSPs by the year 2027. So what does this mean as we're sort of dealing with what we will call our new marketing reality? One of the things that we have hypothesized is to win in this environment, you are going to need locally relevant campaigns, but you're going to need to do this at scale. So one of the things that we all know as digital marketers is just running one campaign for one brand across multiple publishers includes a lot of complexity. It's a lot of work. If we are doing this at any sort of scale where we have multiple brands, multiple accounts, multiple publishers that we're doing it across, every single time that we add a new facet, that increases, our execution complexity. That means that all of a sudden we're going to have to contend with more tasks like budgeting, pacing, optimization management. And if we are saying that emerging channels are becoming more important to the overall media mix, that means that there's like a real risk right now to our operational teams. And one of the things that we have seen, and I am sure that a lot of us can empathize with this, is that work is not reducing at all, and it's leading to things like high turnover rates or underperformance because manual errors just get missed, or we're just not able to do the things that we love as marketers, which is like test and optimize and find those angles. So, traditionally inside of either an agency or a brand marketing department, you had kind of like two ways that you could really solve this problem about capacity. You could, one, throw people at the problem. So, hire your way to scale. That requires a ton of training. And if people turn over, you've got the risk of that tribal knowledge walking out the door. You could offshore, but that carries its own risks. And really, what happens is we find ourselves in a situation where we, as an agency or a brand marketing department, want to think of ourselves as a white glove agency doing that testing, having those good conversations. But really, if we're doing this manually, it is, 80% to 90% of our day just ensuring that the wheels on the bus are staying on, right? Are our budgets on track? Is everything pacing correctly? The next way that you could sort of solve for this was, typically in the early 2000s, a lot of people were building their own bespoke solutions. They were layering new technology in with old technology. That created what we like to coin as kind of like a Franken tech stack. And I think a lot of us still sort of deal with those implications today, but those have their own costs and their own risks associated with it, including really long project timelines and just the increased cost of that technical debt. So for us, I think that we need to think about advertising operations much more holistically. You have all of your inputs that you use to inform your advertising operations. Things like your actual campaign strategies, so your agency or brand playbooks, the campaign data. This could be like location data, geos, all of the pieces, all of the bits and pieces that are needed to run the block and tackling of that campaign. You have signal data, right? So this could be, are we using things like inventory data or weather data to inform campaigns? And then there's the whole other piece of creative asset management. How do we get the correct creative to the correct publishers, utilizing the right compliance rules? Those feed into our overall operational system. And what we have seen at Fluency is there are a lot of aspects inside of things like execution and management, content and creative management, reporting, where these workflows have, big chunks of pieces that are really automatable. And then thirdly, all of this, when we talk about this holistically, we cannot exclude the publishers from the conversation. So you need to be able to take that data that exists kind of outside of your operations, the automation and your system for maintaining your operations, and that needs to be able to communicate clearly and in near real time with the publishers. And they need to be able to feed you back in information, which will allow you to optimize those campaigns. Now, I think that the only way that you really get that done is through, direct read write integrations with APIs at each one of these publishers. But I want to dig in a little bit more here, because if we can all agree that advertising operations needs to be something that is done in a much more systematic way, maybe we can look very specifically at a few workflows that I know all of us can tell are probably operational bottlenecks inside of our teams. That would be budgeting, launching, campaign management, and reporting. All of those pieces have a component to them if we're doing them manually that take a lot of work, and there's just no way around that. So what we think is, if you can at least look at these 4 workflows first, run some analysis on it, and if you're able to automate a significant portion of each one of those workflows, well, then that frees up a ton of time for you to do work that is better suited for a human being. That is things like making those optimizations, testing, having really good conversations again with your clients, because that's where you glean what our brands are really trying to convey. And that is, I think, that white glove promise that that we've been making here as an industry for a while. So coupling that human aspect, well, offloading some of the work that is better done by robots and machines, that is where we see sort of the most progressive agencies really leaning in today. So I'd love to show you a quick clip of how we've solved it here at Fluency. We use something that's called blueprints. Blueprints, give our advertisers the ability to automate those data sets that we're talking about and really activate on that to push it out to the publishers. We'll have like a quick conversation afterwards about how people are using blueprints. But thanks for watching through this, and I'll catch up with you on the other side here.
Ever wonder why digital advertising has become so costly and resource intensive? Advertising channels and opportunities have grown exponentially. So has the operational complexity that goes into execution. To deliver campaigns, you and your teams need to manage a staggering amount of data, assets, and requirements. And you need to repeat the whole process for every launch and every campaign change, all while keeping your team and stakeholders aligned. At every stage of the process, you bleed bandwidth that should be focused on performance and profitability. Imagine if you could create more capacity instantly. With Fluency Blueprints, you can. Blueprints dynamically connect your launch playbooks, creative assets, and campaign data to major ad publishers, all from a single place. Blueprints let you run locally targeted advertising directly from your data with unprecedented precision. This comprehensive integration eliminates manual input and allows you to create and launch new accounts, campaigns, ad groups, and ads up to 90% faster. As your data changes, your campaigns are updated automatically. If you need to make a strategic adjustment, you can modify your blueprint to instantly push changes across your entire portfolio. And when it's time to launch new campaigns, you can do it instantly. By combining your business goals with the power to create and customize any number of campaigns ahead of time and optimize them in real time, you can effortlessly scale your advertising. It's the way digital advertising should be. You run the strategy, the technology takes care of the rest. Ready for breakthrough scale and performance? Now you have a blueprint.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for watching that. That is our philosophy on, how do we combine sort of that power of automation with people. I hope that, the biggest thing that stuck out at you, and maybe you were even like, oh my gosh, yeah, right, was the 90% savings on campaign management. For us, even at Fluency, and we've been doing this for years now, the efficiency gained when you apply automation to some of these work streams is eye-popping still to this day for us. And I know that 90% sounds like a nice round number, but really almost all the time it is, if we have all of the data sources hooked up and the teams are really leaned in, it is anywhere from 80 to 90% efficiency gained inside of those work streams. So like dramatic and organization changing, really exciting stuff. And one of the things that I want to go through here is some actual real examples of advertisers who work with us and have really leaned into this philosophy of using automation as an empowerment tool for their operations team. So how are they doing it? I'd love to get into some real examples. The first one I want to talk about is dealer.com. They're a Cox automotive agency. They're one of the largest tier 3 automotive agencies on the planet. And one of the things that they wanted to do was they wanted to, implement Amazon sponsored display and hopefully improve their display performance by adding that new channel into the mix. But they needed to do this without adding that crisis of capacity that we talked about before. So one of the things that they did was they were able to, with blueprints and automation, was automate the entire setup and execution of over 1,100 campaigns. So that's like a huge amount. That's a huge block that needed to all launch kind of at the same time with localized content. They used pre-configured, locations that pulled from common data sources. And then they automated the management and the monitoring of that entire process. So what did that give for them? I think that, 550 hours saved at any agency would be probably mind-blowing. The fun part is they had an excellent improvement on the overall CTR for that channel. So one of the things that suddenly gives their sales team is the ability to say, hey, I can go to one of my OEMs, which in the automotive world would be one of your automotive manufacturers. I can go to an OEM and I could say, listen, why don't we try out a new channel here across your entire dealer network and have the confidence that that isn't going to blow either the profitability or the capacity of your operations teams, because you're using automation to augment that process. Another excellent example here is a great agency by the name of Cybermark. So they were working with a nationally known beauty brand. One of the things that they wanted to do was also increase their CTR. And then they also wanted to take basically these award-winning strategies that they have in-house and apply that to their campaign management and launch philosophies. So one of the things that they were able to do was they shifted from static templates inside of their own operational processes. They brought those playbooks over. They implemented them inside of blueprints to create a dynamic playbook that actually pulled the advertising directly from the data sources. So from inside of their internal data sources, they were immediately able to execute those launches. And they saved 8 hours per campaign across many, many locations. And this actually saved their entire team 80% of their overall time on campaign setup and execution. Now, what could we do with 80% of our time back in our day? I know for a fact that everybody probably on this call would A, breathe a big sigh of relief. And then B, if you look at that number there on click-through rate, what that does is it actually gives, so maybe I'll back up here. For Fluency as an advertising operations platform, none of my KPIs have anything to do with increased performance. That's like up to the agency or the brand marketing team to come up with the performance increases. But the common factor that we see every single time an agency implements automation inside of their campaign management is you will see an increase in overall performance. Why do we think that is? Because most of the people that work on these campaigns are really good advertisers. They just need the time, the breathing room to make those optimizations, to socialize what they have found inside of those optimizations out to the rest of their campaigns. So they saw a 33% increase in click-through rate while remaining profitable for this account. Again, if you're on a sales team at one of these agencies, or if you have a campaign that you want to bring for your own internal brand marketing teams, and you want to pitch that to leadership, you can have immediate confidence that what you're going to do isn't going to put months of operational weight on top of your team, because you already have all of that playbook working inside of a digital advertising operating system. So a really big shift in mindset, but an increase in confidence in the ability for your entire teams to increase their speed to market for your solutions in an unbelievable way. So let's talk about what we're going to take back home from these learnings today. This is exciting. There are a lot of things that we can do here to just get ready to get into this mindset of automation. The first thing that I think we need to really look at is, how is our data organized? How are we collecting and formatting that data today? How complete is our data? Do we have all of the information we need broken out in an organized fashion, or does everything kind of live in free-form fields? That's like a really good piece of analysis you can do. Where do we lose time in our bottlenecks? Where are those time vampires hiding on us inside of our operations? We know that there are some obvious workflows that just take time if you're doing them manually. Pacing budgeting, flighted promos and specials on a monthly basis, compliance, ensuring that you are reflecting your brands in the correct way. All of those things, if we're not using automation, take a lot of time to do manually. And then we need to look at our technology stacks and figure out, really, like, be self-reflective here. Where does our current platform help or hurt our team? Have we incurred technical debt inside of a Frankenstack over the years? And then what systems do we actually have to execute our ad management inside of our operational teams? So I think that if we go back, we analyze those three pieces, we all agree that advertising operations, and if we believe that automation can be a tool we can work alongside, I think that we're in a really good spot to move our agencies or brand marketing teams forward to, really take on these challenges of all of these new emerging media formats. And then we can do this at a local scale, which in the past has been such a challenge for folks. So hopefully, we're all going to leave here and we can go back and do a little bit of analysis on our own operational teams. I hope that we talk to you in the future, but thank you so much for joining this session, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching. Click the agenda link at the top of your screen to choose your next session.